What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hoops Post Up for another episode of The Trade Machine. You may have caught our first couple. We talked about DeMar DeRozan, one of your Spurs, and we've done Chris Paul, who I don't really know if he's going to get traded, but hey, you never know. There's always a chance, right? And today we're going to talk about a guy who's been in a lot of trade talks lately. I think there's a pretty good chance that at some point Kevin Love does get dealt because, I mean, he's really not doing the Cavs any good anymore, is he?
No, I think he'll be able to help someone else out.
Well, who is the question and at what cost? So let's take a spin through the trade machine and see what comes out. All right, welcome back, everybody. Before we get started, of course, we should introduce ourselves. If you're a first time viewer, I'm Pierre. With me is Velma, and we are husband and wife NBA analysts. You don't see that every day, do you? So we're here to talk about NBA, and if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, I mean, what are you waiting for, right? So, you ready to talk Kevin Love?
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're looking at the very first scenario. Involved our two teams, and we have the Hornets and the Cavaliers, of course. On the Hornets team, they would get Kevin Love, and then the Cavs would get Nicholas Batum. Oh, I like him. Second round pick, first round pick, and a second round pick. Now, these are all coming from the Hornets. It's interesting how it's put, I guess, because of the years in which it's sequenced.
So, a nice draft pick each of the next 3 years. Cavs fans should probably be pretty happy with that. One of them will be a pick that they get back from themselves for this year, but it's a second round pick. Two of them are second round picks. So, that in and of itself isn't anything amazing. So let's talk about both angles here. So first of all, the Hornets, not necessarily the first team that comes to mind when we think about Kevin Love, right?
No, I wouldn't think of them needing Kevin Love, but
Because this is a guy who's been an all-star. I mean, he still is a high caliber player. I don't know if he'll be an all-star this year, probably not, but this guy could definitely help any front court. The Hornets are kind of one of those teams on the bubble, right? They might be a playoff team, they might not. They've got a young team. But this isn't a contender like a title contender, right? We're not talking about Toronto in the East or Boston or somebody like that.
no, and I'm looking at the numbers and one contract's 25 million, the other contract's 28 million. I'm not seeing very much of a relief either, so I'm not quite sure why this is happening.
Well, this is a kind of a term of two bloated contracts here. This is where you got, I mean, that's what it is, right? These are both players that teams would want to unload, but if you're swapping bloated contract for bloated contract, then that doesn't seem to help either side.
Yeah.
I guess in the one sense, if we look again, well, Batum's only 2 years, so the Cavaliers get some relief in the sense that they aren't holding on to Love for 4 years, which is what they want
It's
to
a
get rid
couple
of.
of years that they were able to shave off of their.
So yeah, a little sooner that they'll get some relief, and he gets some draft picks, which is good collateral. Cleveland, not a team that's probably going to attract a lot of high, big name free agents
Mhm.
without LeBron coming back. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen.
I guess when I look at the draft picks, right, it gives them some leverage or some, I guess, some trading ability coming in the future draft or.
It's always nice to have assets, right? Danny Ainge, master of this, collecting assets from draft picks. They might flip that, pair a couple of picks and get a higher pick. Who knows? But anyways, let's grade this thing.
Okay, so I would give this, hmm, I would say it would be a C for me.
Yep, that's exactly it. Big C, C for
It's right in the
Cleveland's,
middle.
right? Take that C right there next to the Cavs logo, and that's it. Because it's not bad. I mean, it kind of helps, but it kind of doesn't move the needle too much. So
No, and
I,
I
I think
think
we
when
could
you're
see
making a
better.
trade, you really want it to impact your team right away.
Yeah, this is just not exciting enough for me.
All right, so up next we have our second scenario. We have the Celtics getting Kevin Love and Ante
That's exactly how you say that last part. You can't see the invisible accent. It's just like,
and they would be wow. I don't think they would get rid of Gordon Hayward. They would lose Gordon Hayward and Vincent Poirier.
That's right.
Sure.
So those last two names, let's just ignore, right? These are names that we don't really care about. Backup centers. Yeah, sure, they have potential, but who cares? Okay, so we're talking about love for Hayward. And your reaction is interesting because I have a feeling a lot of people have that same reaction as why is Boston going to give up Hayward? I mean, they signed him to a fat deal. It's not a terrible contract, not, it's going to be as long as what Love's is right now. Hayward, the injuries, of course, hasn't had a chance to really shine yet in Boston. Why don't they wait and see what they could do, right? With Kemba Walker now, Kyrie's not there to dominate the ball, and Hayward, and they have this group that's playing pretty well. Why give up? Is Hayward a guy that they're looking to trade? I mean, do you think they should just stay put?
No, I think they need to hang on to Gordon. To me, he's proven that he is an asset because when he went and I don't know, it affected their game and their wins when he was off the court.
Now, here's the thing with Boston, as they're currently built, a lot of people just look at the front court, right? They have a lot of youth in the front court. You have guys like Daniel Tice, Robert Williams. Like, that's not going to get it done, right? If Horford had stayed, this is a team that should have been a contender really last year. I mean, I don't know. That's a whole thing. With Kyrie, to me, was the problem. You think addition by subtraction, right? No Kyrie, you have Kemba in there instead. The chemistry would work, but then they lost Horford. So they don't have that
Right.
star at the center position. But here's the thing, you're adding Love, you're getting that boost in the front court, but you're losing Hayward. So does that
Is it addition by subtraction?
is it a good enough swap for them? Do you think that helps?
Yeah. I don't
Let's see.
know. B minus.
Okay, B minus.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. This to me makes sense because people talking about Love going to the Celtics a lot. This might kind of be an answer. I don't say it's the answer, but this does solve some of their problems in the front court. I do think they would miss Hayward, like you said. Yeah, I'd give this maybe a B plus.
Okay.
The question here is on the Cavs side. It's kind of like the same problem with Batum. I mean, yeah, I guess instead of 4 years, you get 2 years, but they're not really getting any salary relief here.
No, they're actually adding.
Yeah, and then there's no draft picks. So I don't think this deal is quite good enough for the Cavs that they would take it. But I like it for the Celtics side.
Okay. Okay, so on our third scenario here, we have two teams involved, the Heat and the Cavs.
The Heat had to be involved at some point, right? I didn't put them first.
Oh, I see what you did. Okay, so the Heat would receive Kevin Love and then Larry Nance Jr. Okay, both 4-year contracts. It's not too bad when you look at what the Cavs are going to be receiving and the Heat giving up. James Johnson, Justice Winslow, Dion Waiters, and a round 2 pick in 2022. So James' contract shows 2 years, 3 years for Justice, and 2 years for Dion.
So this is similar to a trade we talked about the other day. If you remember when the Chris Paul episode.
Yeah. Dion Waiters was involved with Justice, I believe.
So
Yeah,
Waiters
similar.
going back to Cleveland, it would be so fitting. The question here is, are those assets that the Heat would be giving up enough to entice a team to give up a player like
Kevin Love, yeah.
Because let's just face it, as we know, as always, the Heat just don't have good draft picks. And that's by design. Mike Pat Riley doesn't really care for the draft too much. The Heat, not known to be patient, not known to build through the draft, not known to collect draft picks. They just open up the walls and go for it. Okay, so the Heat don't have draft picks to give, and so the Cleveland Cavaliers would have to want that trio of players. So here's the question. Is Dion Waiters, James Johnson, and Justice Winslow enough?
Is that going to be enough to replace Kevin Love at center?
I don't know if they're dying for a Waiters reunion, especially at this point with the way he's been acting. I don't know. Johnson's a nice player, but he kind of built himself through the Heat culture. I just don't know if he would ever play to that level again if he went to another team. And he's not like a super young upcoming player either. And then Winslow, we talked about him also actually on our fantasy episode, if you remember a couple days ago.
Yeah.
He's always hurt. Okay, Winslow is kind of like the centerpiece here. He's the best young player that's there, but I mean, you really want to give up an all-star for a guy who's literally always hurt.
Yeah.
So, as a Heat fan, let me say the Heat side, in a heartbeat. Do this
Yeah.
in a heartbeat. You're giving up guys at the end of your bench, basically, and that's it. Okay, so this, if the Heat could pull this off,
You would say go for it.
don't even think twice. And you get Larry Nance, a nice power forward off the bench, which they need too. I'm talking about the new
Nice.
arena. You get two forwards here.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would say it's a B minus for me. B
Okay.
minus. I mean, I see the benefits for the Heat, but I'm not quite sure the Cavs would be sold on who would they would be getting to replace Kevin Love. So
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't see them. I mean, they're gonna have to want draft picks, right? Unless they're really sold on Winslow becoming a, I wouldn't even say all-star caliber, but being kind of like a centerpiece, a reliable starter, which he's capable. I guess he has the potential, but I mean, it's been a couple years, right? He's not a rookie, so
yeah, no, for me to see this deal kind of happen, there would have to be a mixture of another team and maybe a different player, maybe for one of those from the Heat.
yeah, and that's why a lot of these three-way deals make a lot of sense. I mean, they maybe don't always make sense for the teams involved. It's easier for us to say, these three-way deals don't always get done, but on paper, they make a lot of sense.
Right. Let's see what's up next.
So overall, you gave this one, say again, a
I said a
B
B
minus.
minus. Yeah.
I'm
B
gonna go with a
minus.
B. Great for the Heat. For the Heat, it would be A plus. For the Cavs, probably more like a B minus or C plus. So average it out. I'll say it's a B.
Okay. All right.
Oh, here's your Spurs.
Okay, so let's take a look. It's just a two-team trade. Spurs would get Kevin Love, which is what we need. We don't have
Hmm.
a center. Sorry, Trey Lyles. I know you want to play that because they're telling you to, but it's not working. And Cavs would get DeMar, just straight up.
Straight up love for DeRozan. So
The only thing is the Spurs would carry on that 4-year contract versus DeMar's 2-year, and it's about the same amount of money.
annually, yeah, it's just, and the thing is with DeRozan, he's got 2 years, but the next year is a player option, I believe. So after this year, he could walk. So
That's true.
this goes back to the question. If you watched our DeMar DeRozan episode, we talked about the other scenarios. We never mentioned Kevin Love or the Cavs, but we did mention the fact that we think that DeRozan should be traded. I know you kind of advocate for this, right?
Right. I mean, I've seen some good things happen as of late, but it's not consistent enough, and I don't know if it's really what is going to take us to the next level. We're really needing a piece that is missing, and we have nobody at center right now. So that would definitely help us. And then, sorry to say this, but I think DeMar's replaceable.
That wounds, yeah, not me, but him deep inside. Well, okay. I mean, he's an all-star player, and he's not every day you can just swap in somebody all-star level. Kevin Love, obviously an all-star player. So here's the question: this might seem a little odd to people who aren't in the know with the Spurs.
Right,
You're
right.
thinking, okay, you're getting rid of your best guard, and you're getting another big man with your best player. Then is LaMarcus Aldridge. You basically have two players that are very similar. Then why would you get two front court players that are kind of playing a similar role, and then you don't have a scorer when the Spurs need a score? So why do you think Love in LA, kind of that pairing would make sense?
Okay, well, I see Kevin Love is getting us more rebounds. Okay, we need those boards, whether offense or defense, right? We need the rebounds. And then I'm not quite sure if DeMar is so committed to staying. I don't know if he's going to sign on.
So he could walk after this year, like we already said,
And we need to get what we can
get something instead of nothing.
because we've already been in that situation before. We know what happens.
So here's the other question then, is because Love got that contract, which is why the Cavs would trade him anyways, 4 years left. That would mean that you're basically not doing what we said we should do, is just blow up the Spurs and start over, right?
That's true.
Go for the youth movement, trade both DeRozan and Aldridge, and start over, which I don't think the Spurs are going to do. But then you're kind of fighting to stay in the playoff race, right? Fighting, and you're committing more money to a long-term player that's a veteran, right? So the Spurs aren't getting younger in this case.
No, that's true.
So would you be okay with that?
I don't know. I'm looking at this trade machine,
I
and
mean,
we're talking about this scenario. I give it a B for the Spurs. I think it's
All
a
right.
good deal for the Cavs, so I rated a B. Is it my ideal situation as a Spurs fan? No, I want to blow up the team.
Fair enough. So it makes sense again to trade DeRozan because we've talked about trading DeRozan already, and I do think they should. I don't know if Kevin Love is the best choice, but it wouldn't be a bad one because again, I don't think this team will go with the youth movement. So if you're gonna, hang on and just try to make the playoffs for what 21st year or whatever it is, I get Kevin Love is probably the best thing you're gonna get. And they don't need a point guard. We talked about a lot of point guards being available, so I think Love would be a more sensible fit. I would go B minus on this one.
Okay.
Now, I want to point out before we move on is I do like because the trade machine, users can submit these trades. I love the way that this particular user submitted because you don't have to do an explanation, but this person
This
did.
one did.
Yeah, and so I like the way they explained it.
Okay, so read it for me.
All right, so the Spurs, why would they do this? Well, we just talked about that. Well, shake things up, or see right there. That's great. It's brilliant. Just shake things up. Hey, easy. That's what NBA GMs just think. Hey, you know what? Let's just shake things up.
Well, I love this. So you're gonna have Love and Aldridge in the front court, right? Love's floor spacing creates more room for the Spurs on offense and gets value for DeRozan, and the team is outscored by 6.9 points per 100 possessions when he's on the court.
That's what we talked about in the DeRozan episode. His defense is a negative, and so I like that floor spacing because Love is a big who can shoot the three. So yeah, this would give them a more wide open, versatile attack, more modern, I guess, offense, Pop, if you will.
Yes.
And then with the Cavs, well, basically, yeah, they're getting out of Love's deal. And then DeRozan, he could help the young players for this year. And then they're really off the hook after next year because he's probably not sticking around.
Right. He's got that 2 year.
Well done, whoever you are.
All right. So, is this the last one? I don't know.
We got one more after this.
Okay.
Have to have a three-way deal.
All right. So let's take a look at the next scenario. So we have the Heat receiving Love and Matthew Dellavedova.
You just call him Deli.
Deli. We've got him on a 1 year deal. But then the Cavs, again, it's the same trio. We talked about Duncan Robinson before. Okay, so this time it's James Johnson, Justice Winslow, Myers Leonard. Wow, I don't see them giving him up. And then Duncan Robinson. You said you were okay with, on the last time we did a trade machine where he was involved, you're okay with him going. And then round 2 of 2022.
So there's that draft pick again, that second round, which is probably the only draft pick we have left. Duncan Robinson, having a nice year, right? Great shooter. He fits in really well. But look, if you want to get something, you got to give up something, right? So you talk about him and Winslow. Those are two pretty good, fairly young pieces. Myers Leonard, not too consequential. He's okay, but I've been pretty disappointed, honestly, with his defense. He's okay. I mean, he's a big man. He can rebound, obviously. He can hit the three. He's not going to be the difference between, making the playoffs. You're talking about a team that right now is number 2 in the East, right?
Yes, they're doing so well.
This is a chance. The East is a little bit more wide open, right? You don't have LeBron there anymore. This is a chance, right? Pat Riley's not going to sit around and wait till next year for free agency or whatever. He's got a chance. He's going to go for it. Kevin Love is almost exactly the type of player that we need.
Yeah, you've been talking about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, rebounding, right? We need another big. And so, okay, Leonard would be expendable. Winslow, expendable because he's always hurt.
You need someone else. I think you need a big because you're going to be going up against the Lakers in the finals. So
that would be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But again, to me, this makes all the sense in the world. The Cavs, I think you're getting enough back here where they would be happy with this.
This deal.
Okay,
for both parties.
Dellavedova, an expiring contract. I can't believe he's making almost $10 million. But anyways, that's just a piece to get back to replace the depth here. So you get Love, and then you're really not giving up anything too much. Like I said, for the Cavs, they can try to work with Winslow. They don't have to hang on to Leonard. They have Robinson, who's a pretty nice piece. But honestly, again, back to the main thing. Why are the Cavs going to trade Love at all? to get out of that contract. All right, so this gives them still enough flexibility that I think that even though they're taking several players on, I think they could do this.
Okay. I give it an A minus.
You stole my grade. I was going to give it an A minus too.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
Good minds think alike.
And then here comes the three-way. I think it's a little crazy.
Okay, so we have the Trailblazers, the Bulls, and the Cavaliers. So, Thaddeus Young, oh, there's Dad. Cristiano Felicio, and Kevin Love.
Going to the Blazers. So a lot of people talk about the Blazers want to make a push. They definitely need a big, right, to place. They obviously lost Myers Leonard, to free agency, but also Nurkic out for a long time.
Yeah. Okay, so then the Bulls would get Hassan Whiteside, Kent Bazemore, and Nasir Little.
And then the Cavs get just one.
Yeah, Otto Porter.
Otto Porter, a good player. All right, but hasn't been outstanding yet really in Chicago. But the Cavs would get a pretty good player, kind of in his prime, should be in his prime. Not too bad of a contract, so they're giving themselves a little bit of flexibility here. The Blazers, of course, it's just about getting Kevin Love. So if that's really what they want to do that.
Yeah.
That Young is a pretty good piece off the bench. I think
It
he's a
looks
nice fit.
really good for the Trailblazers.
I think
it looks
so.
really good for them.
And
I
look-
mean, I like that trade for them.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. All they're giving up, and here's where you say, well, maybe the Bulls wouldn't want to do this. Okay, so do the Bulls want Hassan Whiteside, Kent Bazemore, and Nas Little? Do they want that? That's the question. You think they do?
I don't think it looks too bad, though.
So Whiteside's an interesting player. That's a way to put it. He has potential, right? Obviously, he's flashed at times. He looks like an all-star, looks like a pro.
We've seen it.
And then sometimes he looks like he needs to go back to the G League.
Oh,
I mean, there's no in between with him. And he's been pretty solid this year. Obviously, the Blazers, if they really want to make a run, after tying up, Lillard and McCollum to contracts, they have no choice but to try to go for it. So, replace him with a consistency in the presence of Love. So it makes sense for the Blazers. The Bulls, I mean, you're giving up Otto Porter, you're getting Whiteside, Little, and that's not a outstanding package.
no.
But you could say, well, if they're not, completely thrilled with Porter at this point, they think that Whiteside could be a difference maker. I don't know. Realistically, the best part about it is for Whiteside, it is an expiring contract for him. And then Bazemore too. So that's what the
Right.
Bulls are getting
It's
back.
just 1 year.
They're just getting back expiring contracts. So that does make sense for the Bulls if they're just going to continue with their youth
to
movement.
move forward.
All right, so all told,
Ooh, I like this as well. Goodness, I'm gonna give this one an A.
wow, pretty solid. I'm the more I've talked about it, the more I've kind of convinced myself this really makes sense on all
Well,
sides.
I see the 1 year contracts for the Bulls. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
gonna give them some open opportunities. And then I really like this for the Trailblazers. I think that would be the push that they need.
Yep.
And it's not bad for the Cavs.
It's okay. And again, Cleveland's, getting Otto Porter, good player. He's got, he's making a good chunk of change, but it's not for 4 years. It's only for 2. So not too bad. Yeah, I would go at least A minus.
Okay. So there you have it. That's the trade machine for this Kevin Love opportunity, right?
Plenty of chances there. Plenty of teams. I wonder which team is going to push the hardest. I'm kind of hoping it's the Heat.
Let's go. Go Spurs, go.
Oh, Spurs. No, I don't think it's going to be the Spurs. We'll see. We'll see
Can
what
always
happens.
hope.
I have a
Can
good
always
feeling, though,
hope.
Love does get dealt this year because there's no reason for Cleveland to hang on to him. And that's the type of player that's going to could make a difference in the playoffs.
All right. So, you NBA fans, you tell us where you want Kevin Love to go. If you want him on your team, comment below. Share us your trade thoughts on Kevin Love and let us know what you think.
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear from you.
And of course, before you go, hit subscribe. Keep up to date with all the latest NBA news, trade talk, fantasy, everything we provide for you here. Thanks as always for watching.
All right, everyone. Peace and love. Kevin Love. All right.
That was too easy.